Up for next weekend's 75th edition of the Indianapolis 500. There are some great stories coming out of Indianapolis. Rick Mears bounced back from a crash to grab the pole the next day. A.J. Foyt will start from the middle of the front row in his final race. And 4 members of the Andretti family have made the grid. SportsBeat's John Bassett was at the Brickyard this weekend, and he has come up with another interesting tale about the man who keeps the drivers in one piece, the race doctor, Terry Trammell.
Every racing driver knows that at some point in their career, this is going to happen.
The cars disintegrated, but neither driver was seriously injured.
There are 17 Indy races this year, and between racing, qualifying, practice, and testing, you can't beat the odds forever. At some point, each driver is going to be in a crash. Every driver also realizes that at least once in their career, they're going to hit an object hard enough to send them to the hospital with something broken. When an Indy car needs repairs, the mechanics piece it back together. When a driver needs repairs,
I kind of look at it like being the chief mechanic for body parts.
He had me back in a car in 6 days.
Mario Andretti suffered broken ribs and a shoulder blade.
2 weeks' time, I was back in a race car. I mean, with the cracked hip and snapped clavicle, you know, with a plate in it and some ribs.
Before 1985, there was no full-time doctor traveling the circuit. Drivers in need of medical work got pot luck at the local hospital. But after Rick Mears crashed at San Air in 1984, CART realized they needed full-time medical assistance and hired Dr. Terry Trammell.
You know, that was very key for everybody, and like I said, that really just, you know, takes a little pressure off of us, and you can relax a little bit more knowing that.
A lot of my nerve damage and some of my tendon and tissue damage was strictly from swelling, and that came from the fact that I wasn't operated on for almost 24 hours. Now that with the case of Mark Dismore, who had crashed at Indy here about a week ago, you know, they could operate immediately, and I talked to him afterwards, and I said, you know, how much difference does that make? And he said, it makes a huge amount of difference, because you can get in there and get right to work to put things back together before swelling or anything else like that. Poor circulation gets in there and causes more problems.
In the 10 years that Dr. Trammell has been around the circuit, he has seen a lot of bad accidents and some serious injuries. But the work he does on the drivers is nothing new or radical. Most of his experience comes from his regular practice. Accidents on the street are usually far worse than those on the track.
Occupants are usually thrown out of the vehicles, or they're burned or entrapped in the vehicles. There's a lot more torso trauma to an average person in their motor car. Their injuries are usually life-threatening if they're severe. IndyCar accidents usually don't produce life-threatening injuries.
Although Trammell is paid by CART, being away from his practice costs him money. However, he has a true love for the sport and understands its intricacies, a fact not lost on the drivers or their families.
He just knows how to deal with us within reason, and that's what we like. I mean, those are the kind of people that we want around us.
Terry's a racer, you know, and he's a good friend, and you know, all of that comes into play, and he just, you know, he does tremendous work.
When Rick hit the wall the other day in turn 1 the day before qualifying, I looked over and Dr. Trammell was immediately there, and he immediately got in the car with us, took us down to Methodist Hospital, and within 2 hours Rick was back on the track. And that meant more than I can even say, more than I could ever let him know.
At Indy, John Bassett, SportsBeat Today.